Hello and welcome to the second tutorial for the Saskatchewan Breeding Bird Atlas. My name is Jared Clark. I am the Regional Coordinator for Region 8. And today on this tutorial, we're going to walk through how to enter some of your data. So we're going back to the website, which is Saskatchewan Bird Atlas, or sk.birdatlas.ca. And we're going to Tools and Resources. And we're going to go down to Data Entry. So when we click this, it's going to take us to a secondary page to the website. This is a data portal for nature counts. So this is part of how we enter. So because you've already registered, you just type in your login name and your password, and then we're just going to hit login, and it's going to take you to this screen. So this is the first screen that you're going to see. Big map of North America, and you're going to we're going to zoom in. So we're going to page down a little bit. And we're going to center our Saskatchewan kind of where we want to go, right into that where that plus sign is, because that's where we're going to zoom into. We're going to hit the zoom in button here and zoom in. So let's say that today I found, I was out bird watching and I want to enter some data in Fort Capel where I was bird watching earlier today. So I'm going to zoom in to Fort Capel. I'm going to find my spot where I was in Fort Capel. And I'm going to just click and go. So we'll talk a little bit after or what you're going to do next. But first, before I move on to that, I want to talk a little bit. So this is the very basic thing that you can do. You're not really assigned a square. You're just entering a bird that you've seen or a checklist that you've seen. The other way that you will enter data is if you have a square that you have been assigned, a 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer square. And you'll need to talk to your regional coordinator like me or the other regional coordinators to get assigned a square. But basically, if you have taken on a square, you've committed to birding this square for 12 to 20 hours over the next 4 years. And so you can see here, when we've zoomed in enough to see this red square, it means this is the boundary of the square. And this square is 13 UES 82. And so I zoom in and this is my square. Now the other thing that I can do is I can save the square name so that this square will appear on my personal list. So I'm going to call this Fort Capel. And this is going to be the arbitrary name that I've given this for my personal list, but I'm going to save it here, and there it is. So now, when I come back to log in another checklist, okay, I'm just going to go to my personal list, and I'm going to go down, and here's Fort Capel. So I'm just going to click on it, and it's going to jump me straight to that square. Okay, so now that I'm in that square, I have these 4 different observation types. So I can pick a location. So let's say I was sitting in someone's backyard for a couple hours and we were bird watching. So right here. So I'm going to pick a location. I'm going to enter, we were at Bay Avenue, because that's the street I was at, Bay and 6th. All right. And that's it. So I would just pick that location and then I would move on with the date and the other data. We're not going to jump there yet. I'm going to talk about traveling count first. So let's say I was traveling through Fort Capel today. So let's say I started at the dam. I click there. I picked traveling counts under the observation type. I click where I started and I get this line. And then I just click. And I just keep clicking. And I went down here and it allows me to create these different, this different path that I've walked today. So then I go click here and then I went back and this was where I ended. So I'm going to double click and there's my path, my traveling count, my transect. So you can see here it's calculated the distance that I walked, 1.9 kilometers. The other thing that I can do is pick area search. And so let's say I walked all throughout this area this morning. So I started at Boundary Avenue. I walked all the way to Central, all the way down to 7th. I'm just clicking each time. I went up the number 10 and then back down Boundary. And I walked all throughout here. So it's going to calculate my area. So it's saying that I've done this area. So this is 23.4 hectares that I've traveled. The last observation type that I can use is the entire square. Basically, it's saying that somewhere within this square I saw these birds. So ideally, you're going to be a little more specific, but if this is the best you can do, it's the best you can do. So let's pick traveling count. I traveled down Sioux Avenue. I walked this morning past Mission Ridge. I ended here, so I'm going to double click. And there's my route. Okay, so then moving on down, observation date. So let's pick today. That's as simple as it gets. My start time was 7:30 in the morning. My duration, I walked for an hour and a half, so 150 minutes, and I was the only person walking. Now, incidental observations. If I was, say, doing something that wasn't related to bird watching, so I'm out in Fort Capel this morning, going to Home Hardware to buy some stuff, and I just happened to see, let's say, a European starling carrying food. So I can enter that as an incidental observation because that's the only thing that I've seen today was simply this starling carrying food. I wasn't doing a checklist or anything, but we're not going to check that today. We were bird watching. So then I'm going to come down here and I am reporting a complete checklist of the birds you were able to identify. So this is saying that am I including everything that I saw? Yes. Okay. We're not worrying about point counts right now because we haven't completed those today. So no. And I'm just going to hit continue. Oh, it says I need to include a duration. So I forgot that when I clicked incidental, it popped that off. So, and a site name I'm missing. So Sioux Avenue. All right. Continue. So now it's going to take me to the second page. I'm going to quickly check to make sure this data is all correct. This is my start or my observation date, my start time. All of that's good. Okay, so along my walk today, this is what you see next. It gives you all the different species that should be in this area, and it gives you a box for the count, for the breeding evidence, and for the details that you might want to add. So this does not mean you have to fill something in for every single one. We're just looking at the birds that we've seen today. So let's say we saw some mallards. So I saw 2 mallards, and they were in a pair. So I'm going to go find my breeding evidence pair. Oh, it's giving me a green little caution code. So it says codes with this for which caution is required, but which are not particularly unusual for this species and do not require special documentation. Caution, birds may be paired before arrival on breeding grounds. So if the birds are still migrating, using pair might not be an accurate thing, but because we're kind of in the middle of, or at the end of May, we know these are probably birds that are sticking around. So we're going to keep that in as pair. We're going to jump down here, and we saw horned grebes. We saw 2 horned grebes, and they were nest building. So I'm going to go here. Because this has got this little double S, it means that it's a species of interest. So I need to add details for those. So I saw two horned grebes building a nest in a slough. Okay, so then I can also click coordinates, and it's going to zoom. I can zoom in to my path. I'm going to say that I saw these horned grebes right here on this little wetland right there. So when I click that, it gives me this lat long, and that means that that's exactly where this observation took place. I can also add media files, but not quite yet. We don't have that operational and then I can close it. So that is that. And then we'll just say that I saw a robin, 2 robins, and one had, I saw the adult sitting on a adult entering nest. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to hit submit because those are the species that I saw on my 2-kilometer walk. Oh, and it says, you have submitted records of rare species. Please confirm that you're reporting the following species and provide appropriate documentation before continuing. So I'm going to hit horned grebe, and then I'm going to hit submit. Okay, and then this is basically, it's been submitted. I just always take time to check my record here. So I say, okay, yes, I saw 2 mallards, it was a pair. I saw horned grebes, 2 of them, they were nest building. Here's my comment that I put in. And then I saw 2 robins and 1 was sitting on a nest. So I can also, if I want to go back and change my species list, I can go back in and, oh, I forgot to add, I saw 1 blue-winged teal, and it was H because it was by itself. It's an appropriate habitat for this species. So I've made that change. Blue-winged teal's in there now. If I want to go back, I can also share this with eBird. So because I have an eBird account, I just hit this button, and then I can share with eBird because I've inserted my login and everything. And then it'll push it to eBird, and that's that. So if I want to, I can then start a new checklist, and it takes me back to here. Let's say I have another one to fill in Fort Capel. I'm just going to click there, and I'm off to the races. So I hope you found this informative and straightforward. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments section, and we'll check back. Or you can always contact the Saskatchewan Breeding Bird Atlas office, and the folks there will be happy to help you with any problems, or any of the regional coordinators are well equipped to help you along. So thank you, and happy birding.